All right, good morning and welcome to Real Estate Today on Splash FM 105.5. Remember that on Real Estate Today we discuss property, land and housing, letting and sales, as well as legal aspects of buying and selling of property, including other things. My name is Michael Olatunbosun, and you recall that recently I've been talking about the hike in the prices of building materials. The increasing cost of building materials has been reported to put the hope of many Nigerians, especially the millions of low-income earners, in potential jeopardy. About 60% of the total cost of building construction goes to materials, while remaining 40% is spent on labor. And the 60% goes into, high-priced materials. For instance, the price of essential building components like sand, blocks, roofing sheets, tiles, plumbing materials, paints, wood have witnessed an increase in prices by about 15% or more in the past few months across the country. Most of the developers still rely on imported materials. The price of cement appears to be more affected as the product hovers around 3,700 and 4,000 plus. Some weeks ago, the upper chamber, that's the Senate, the National Assembly, moved to cut the skyrocketing cost of components in building construction by urging the federal government to introduce liberal policies to stimulate more investment in the manufacturing of products. The upper chamber said such policies should include provision of industrial and larger tax incentives to encourage local investors. Okay. Last week, the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers also called the attention of the federal government to pay attention to the cost, that high cost of building materials, if truly it desires to provide affordable housing for the low and medium income earners, the less privileged and vulnerable people in Nigeria. The institution also noted that no single cause can be identified to explain Nigeria's poor economic performance over the years than the power situation, pointing out that it's a national shame that an economy of about 180 million people has about 12,500 megawatts of installed capacity as of today, with about 3,000 to 5,000 megawatts being transmitted to the final consumers, when South Africa, with a population of about 58 million, generates about 59,000 megawatts, and shows that we have a long way to go. So the NIESV has called the government to speedily do something about the skyrocketing price of building materials. And that's the crux of the matter today. I have a representative of NIESV in the studio. I will bring him to the microphone after this commercial. It's still Real Estate Today on Splash FM 105.5 here in the city of Ibadan. Please don't go away.
You know as body dey totori you anytime you dey download and watch plenty videos like say tomorrow no dey. Na so one corner of your brain go dey tell you say as e dey sweet you so make you remember say na your pocket go hear am o. My brother, my sister, the truth be say that one na before o. Now when you buy data wey dey last with shikini money on top MTN, you go jollificate 10 gigabyte data for 3,000 naira and 20 gigabyte data for 5,000 naira. Plus say they go come sama you 4 gigabyte awoof data for take watch YouTube videos for the data network with the reliable. Shikina, just dial *131# for take turn up your ogbonge data for shikini money on top MTN. Terms and conditions dey.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Real estate. It's real estate on Splash 105.5 FM.
All right, you're welcome back. It's still Real Estate Today on Splash FM 105.5 here in the city of Ibadan. I have with me ESV Sunkanmi Tanigbola, Secretary, Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Michael. Good morning to our listeners at home.
Your institution has called on the federal government to speedily do something about the cost of building materials. Before I go to the specific thing that the NIESV is asking the federal government to do, You are, you are a practitioner in the industry. I know you are involved in building. You are involved in estate valuation and the rest of it. I'd like you to give me an overview of what has happened to the sector in the last few months.
Well, thank you very much. Let me start by telling you categorically that virtually every product comes out of raw materials. And the major raw material for real estate, as in structures, buildings, are the materials used in building them, which includes cement, blocks, iron rods, and many other things, without leaving the human resources.
Okay.
And looking at that in recent days, the high cost of building materials is really telling on the skyrocketing prices and rent that is being that is passing on properties in the recent days. And because there is nothing individuals can do to this, everything still goes back to the government to do the right thing to ensure that there is price control on all these materials. And I can tell you categorically, one of the reasons why we now have bad structures, substandard structures, is that some of our establishments are not working. Like Standard Organization of Nigeria, they are to check all these materials that are being brought into the country. But now we have substandard materials because they want to cut down the cost of all these items. And it's really telling on the product that comes out of it. And that is one thing I want you to understand, that when we that are into real estate business, we always want our clients to do the best so that there will be value for money. But in an attempt, when you are telling a client, okay, this is what should come in, this is the type of structure you want to have, engineers must have given you strength of materials, the iron rods, and the type of block and stuff like that. Nowadays, you see block makers producing blocks that are not to specification because they want to probably have their own profit.
And basically because the prices are high. Yeah. I want to focus on cement. The price of cement has been going up and going up and going up. Particularly, I think it was in March or so that the Bureau of Statistics announced that inflation had gone up in the country. As we speak, around 18.7%. That's the inflation rate in the country. And basically, this affects the buying power of people, including those who sell building materials. I remember that a couple of days back, I was speaking with a plumbing materials dealer who said that the bottleneck that they face, while trying to import materials are also important. Those materials that are imported, that they face some bottleneck at the ports as well. But my big question for you, you have said that, because prices are high, those who sell are going to be basically trying to increase their own profits and therefore lower standards, quality of the products that are put in the market. You also mentioned that the regulatory organizations like SON are also not really forthcoming. So the total effect is that buildings, if anybody has enough strength to put up a building at this time, there's every likelihood that they are going to be cutting down costs. An attempt to cut down costs will also mean that you are bringing down the standards, the
specification.
So we are at the brink of grave danger now. So where do we go from here? I'd like to ask you, what should, first of all, the federal government do about this? The Senate has asked the federal government to do something about it, maybe tax and the rest of it. And from the point of view of your profession, what should or who should do something about this thing?
Thank you very much. I want to tell you that if we are saying government should do the right thing, we as individuals, we should as well be cognizant of what they call quality. For the mere fact that you are telling, They do say penny wise, pounds foolish. If you are trying to cut down the cost of materials as an individual, you understand that you are bringing down the quality of what you actually desired. And in that aspect, I want individuals to understand that, fine, the prices are high, but when you are having a good and a quality structure on ground, it will take a longer time before maintenance will come in. If you have a good structure, maintenance will be the cost of maintaining it will be minimal. But once the structure is not good from the onset, is substandard, it will require more cost for you to maintain it. And that is on the part of individuals. But for the government, price control is very key. Can you tell me, is there any government cement manufacturing company presently? Most of our items are from private sectors. Once government is not having things, they are not producing all these things, definitely. Individuals are investors who want profit for the money invested. They will do things the way they like, and the government, even if the government is telling them this is too high, this is too high, they will tell you they would rather not produce. And if you consider the cost they use in the importation of all these items, man, they have mentioned it, that the amount they are using to clear all these goods is so high. Government should look into that as well to ensure that the cost of clearing materials, raw materials, is brought to the barest minimum, so that investors, manufacturers will be encouraged to do more. Virtually all our manufacturing companies in Nigeria are moving out of the country. Not only about building materials, we have manufacturing companies that are running out of Nigeria to the neighboring country, just because they complain about power supply, they complained about high cost of importation, many things like that. And let me cite this example for you. Everything we have is a product of raw materials. Before you can have akara, you must have beans.
Okay.
Before you can have a building, you will have cement, iron rod, and all these things. Then the end product of these things, cement, iron rod, block, manpower, the end product of it is a structure, is a building. Then if the raw materials needed is high, then what else do you expect? Many people will run, and that is one of the things that is affecting rent of properties. If you ask valuers to value a property now, fine, they will consider the economic value. They will consider the functionality value. The physical value is part of it. All these things are things we consider when carrying out the valuation of property. But have you forgotten, we have different types of method to value a property. Among this method is cost or contractor's method. When you consider the cost of construction per square meter of a structure and you now apply it for valuation of property, you yourself, you have to sit down. Where are we going in this country? That is what I have to say on that.
All right, it's still real estate today on Splash FM 105.5. We're talking high cost of building materials and its effect on housing in the country. I'm still speaking with ESV Sunkami Tanigbola, is the Secretary of Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Let's come to cement. The sector, it sounds to me like it's an oligopoly, where you have three major players in the cement, manufacturing sector in the country. They basically decide the price of the product. I wanted to ask, you are the one who knows the nitty-gritty of this thing. Why should cement cost that much in the country where we're supposed to have the materials? Or are we importing cement?
We are not.
Okay, so why is cement? And cement is central to any building and construction project.
Yeah.
So why is cement that high? I mean, in some parts of the country, they pay as much as 4,200, 4,500. In some other places, 3,700 for a bag of cement. Why?
Let me ask you this question. Is there any government cement manufacturing company working as at present.
Why should government be doing business indeed? When
Fine.
you consider
Once you are in monopolistic market, you can inflate anyhow, because government will tell you will not have any say on it. You have an excuse of telling them the cost of production is high, and you can increase. Any investor goes into investment with the aim of generating income, goodwill, or what have you. But once the government is not doing what is right, then they will take advantage of that, and they will fix whatever amount they want. They will fix it. All these materials are things they get at Ilaro, all those stores, all those areas, Ilaro, Ewekoro, all of them. These materials are there. But what is government doing? Let's consider, is there anything area that government is trying to probably enforce price control of all these items? That brings us back to the effect of weakness when it comes to economic regulation. The government is doing well, but they are not doing well enough.
So you expect the government to regulate pricing, and you just also said a while ago that these guys who play in this sector, they will tell you about that, the cost of production is high, particularly power. There's no power. They have to run their plants on diesel.
Is there any competitor? They don't. Once there is no competitor, you take advantage of that, and you know that, okay, if transmission company of Nigeria and NEC, National Electricity Regulatory, NERC Commission, or if they say, okay, this is how much you are selling to all these distribution company, and it shouldn't go beyond this amount, they will negotiate. And by so doing, they are more or less controlling the price. But in the situation that you are not giving them what they want, what they require, they will tell you, okay, for us to earn what we have invested, not even profit, to even pay our manpowers, they will tell you, yes, we need to do these things. We need to put these things in place because of monopoly. Nobody is competing with them. It's only in a competitive market that you have someone that will say, okay, you are selling yours for 3,000 naira. I go to Agbeni market because so many people, they buy from the same market. Go to Agbeni, they buy from the same market. But because all of them want to sell, you will see somebody telling you, this thing is 2,000 naira.
You recall that about 2 weeks ago, there was something that looks like a price war between the two major producers of cement in Nigeria. So it could happen then.
Exactly.
But it does not happen. It does not happen.
Let me just tell you this. I have said it, and I'm still repeating it. Every investor are in business to make profit. And they will always want to, okay, take for instance, if one is selling cement at 3,500, the other one can say, okay, for me to beat, I will not come down so much, but let me sell my own for 3,400. People will not consider the standard. Maybe in the cost of bringing down the cost. They will say, okay, this is the quantity that's supposed to be in the cement, but reduce this to this. We have people that does that. Standard organization, how often do they visit all these companies to ensure standard? Those are the things we need to consider.
All right. So as a builder, as someone who plays in the sector, you also need to look at the side of those who work in the sector as labor, the labor sector, in this sector. You want to also say that sometimes people say it is not just about the hike in prices, that it is also about the greed of the people who work in the construction sector, that they want to also, rip off the owners of buildings, owners of construction projects, and therefore they also do the artificial hike in prices. How do you react to that as a player in the sector?
Let me tell you this. A professional will not compromise standard.
I'm not talking about standard. I'm talking about trying to. Okay, so
it's still about standard. When you cut down to probably increase your own profit, you are more or less compromising standard. For somebody who is into building, okay, you have to use maybe 2 8 pounds of sand, 4 gravel for your mixture, to 8 pounds of cement. You are now saying, okay, increase it to 4 8 pounds of sand, 8 gravel. Trying to achieve the quantity.
Achieve more with less.
More with less. Thank you very much. To achieve more with less, you are compromising standard. A professional will not do that. And that will take us to the aspect that we once discussed on this station about non-professionals parading themselves to be professionals. Engineers are working very well, but we have some people that are not engineers that are claiming to be. They are not current registered. They are not member of NSC. We have people that are claiming to be estate surveyors and valuers. They don't belong to Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. They are not registered with Estate Surveyors and Valuers Registration Board of Nigeria. And they will be outside saying they're into management of property, they're into agency, they're into this and that. If even to the extent that some of them even write Estate Surveyor and Valuer on their board. Let me tell you, it is very clear. A professional will want something standard.
All right. Okay, so let's do a summary now. So in summary, I'd like you to give me in bullet points what should be done in the area of price control or in the area of getting building materials to the prices to come down so that we'll be able to get affordable housing across to Nigerians.
Thank you. 1, government to rise to their responsibility.
Okay.
To ensure that the cost of clearing of raw materials, the cost of clearing are brought to the minimum, barest minimum.
Okay.
2, the Standard Organization of Nigeria should ensure they have representative at all these manufacturing companies, especially where cements are produced and stores are, to ensure that quality are achieved.
Okay.
Not substandard product coming out, because once substandard product comes out, it requires more to maintain.
Okay.
3, individuals should patronize and should be encouraged to get good quality materials. Not trying to probably say, oh, they are selling one a door. They are selling a door 100,000. There's one I can get for the one that looks like the other one. Now, is it not door? Let me just buy this one. Go and get me the one for 10,000 naira. And you expect it to function like the one that cost 100,000. Fine. There is always standard. There is always leverage. So the individuals in that area should understand that they should go for quality things, not substandard things. Those are the areas I think we need to come into.
Tax concession as well, right? Someone asking for tax concession for these manufacturers.
Yes, there is need for government. Like I said government should they should rise to their responsibility. Once you bring down the cost of importation, the clearing amount for importation, you are more or less relieving them of tax. And manufacturers, they can always tell them, okay, instead of you paying this certain percentage, you can bring it down to the PRS as well.
ESB Sunkanmi Tani Bola is Secretary, Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, thanks for listening to this edition of Real Estate Today, this Monday on Splash FM 105.5. If you have a question or comment, particularly about sponsorship, send me a text message 0805-699-8676 or email molatunbosun@splashfm1055.com. You can follow me on Twitter, of course, at Mike Tunbosun. I am Michael Olatunbosun. Desmond Adegboyega Kokola is my studio manager. Enjoy the rest of the day.
We've got the city on lockdown. my own city that I hold down.
We are Splash 105.5.